I will turn this over, I guess, to Mr. Dorn at this point in time. Andy,
Yes,
you want to introduce
I
yourself to our
certainly will.
community? And
good evening. I'm Andy Dorn. I'm with a company called Energy Solutions Consortium. We're based out of West New York. We're out of Buffalo, New York. With me is my partner, who happens to be one of my sons. He's our CFO. And I apologize because I did not bring a formal presentation. We heard about this meeting about the middle of last week from Kevin Thomas, and I called Nikki, and then I called Stuart to see if they wanted us to attend. They said, well, yeah, we're probably going to have a couple of people here. And we thought it'd be a small, very casual conversation. And let me give you a little background, a little history. We came here about 2.5 weeks with our other partner. Our other partner is a power plant developer called Caithness, who's building a plant down in Lucerne, Pennsylvania right now. And we just wanted to come in and introduce ourselves to the supervisors and tell them we're looking for a site to build a power plant in Tioga County. And one of the sites happens to be in Covington Township. We're looking at 2 other sites as well. And that we're still doing a lot of research. This is a very long, drawn-out process. But we wanted to make them aware of it. And as we moved a little further along the process, we'd be more than happy to come with our engineers and make a formal presentation with PowerPoints and pictures of what a plant looks like and the whole 10 yards. So I did not bring our engineer, I brought our financial guy, and I didn't bring any formal presentation. But let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing or what we want to do in Tioga County. As you know, you sit on one of the largest pools of natural gas in the country. And one of the best things to do with natural gas is to convert it into electricity. So we want to build a combined cycle power plant in Tioga County. The plant that we're envisioning is about 550 megawatts. It's about a $650, $700 million project. And these projects take about 2.5, 3 years to site to get all your permits to get ready to build, and about 2.5 years to build the plant. The plants have a tremendous economic impact. We pay whatever the tax rate is. We pay our fair share of taxes. We do not ask the state or the county or the local township for any type of tax breaks or incentives or anything to build the plant. During construction, the plant employs about 400 people. It uses about $100 million worth of natural gas every year. That natural gas will come out of local wells. We'll tie into the local pipelines. We'll tie into the local transmission lines. These plants are not what you envision when you think of a power plant. The old coal-fired power plants cover about 200 acres, and they've got a mountain of coal, and they have stacks that are 800 feet to 1,600 feet high, and they belch out a lot of dark smoke. These combined cycle gas plants cover 20 acres. The turbine building's only about 60 foot high. The cooling stacks are about 165, 170 feet high. They do not smell. There's very little noise to them. And they're very, very clean compared to a coal-fired plant. We are looking at 3 different sites in Tioga County. We've started to do our transmission studies with the grid to see if we can inject power. We started those about a year ago. So we've been around for a while looking. We have local counsel, Tom Owlett is representing us. I'm a little concerned because he told me it's a good thing I was near the door, but I can't get to the door, so I don't know what good it does me. You know, we thought this was going to be a very small group and we could answer some of your concerns about these plants and tell you a little bit more about them. There's been a lot of gas plants built over the last 5 years in Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. We're building a plant right now in Moundsville, West Virginia. We have 2 other projects in West Virginia underway. But this is an ideal area to build the plant for a couple of reasons. The main reason is that you're sitting on a huge pool of natural gas, and it's very accessible to a power plant. So again, I apologize that we don't have any formal presentation for you, and that's a little bit down the road when we decide where we're going to be. We came to see the supervisors to see how they felt about it, because we don't want to go any place that we're not welcome. We want to be a good neighbor when this plant is up and operating. It only takes about 30 people to operate this plant over 3 shifts. So it does not create a tremendous amount of local jobs. All these 30 people here will live in the community. They're fairly highly paid, but only 8 to 10 of them work on a single shift. The plants are fairly low profile compared to what you're used to seeing as a power plant. And they're good corporate citizens. The people are there to benefit the community, and as I said, there's a big economic impact. During construction, as I said, this is a huge project. It's a $700 million project. During the life of the plant, not only are you going to buy $100 million worth of gas locally, that's going to pay a lot of royalties to the local gas holders, but we're going to use a lot of local services, a lot of local service providers. And as I said, we're going to pay our fair share of taxes, whatever that winds up to be, and typically for a plant like this, it could be $1 million a year in real property taxes. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, or Matthew will, or...
Is this the first time you did this?
Did what?
This presentation?
Right here tonight? No.
You're informed
Yeah.
about your project?
Yeah,
I've been doing, since we got the letter in the mail that this thing's coming our way,
yeah,
tried to do some research.
yeah,
And I found out 2 things.
okay.
Other than Hillary Clinton's emails, the noise level of one of these things is the best kept secret around.
No, well, that's not true.
Because we looked everywhere, trying to find how many decibels this thing's going to
The
generate.
decibel level, and that's part of the siting process, you have to do a noise study. And at the fence line of this 20-acre site, or maybe it's a 40-acre site by the time you get your parking lot, your transmission yard in, the decibel level is about 65 decibels.
It's like a
at
car
the
horn.
fence. Pardon me?
That's about as loud as an automobile horn.
No, the voice, my voice right now is 70 decibels.
But that's how far away from the actual thing?
That's at the fence line, which is maybe 100 feet from the plant. And they're building
You'd be lying
these.
to us, would you?
No, 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 yeah, as I said, we have to do,
Yeah, again, we'll have to come out and study, understand what the noise levels are in the area where we're gonna build the plant. We'll put out noise receptors, and then we'll come back and say, okay, here are the folks that live around the plant, here's what they may hear from the plant, and here's how it compares to the background noise that currently exists. We have to present all of that information to,
I understand they have a daytime noise and a nighttime noise level.
Not these
No?
plants, this plant with the low-cost gas we all have around here, and Andy's numbers were on an annual basis, not over the life of the plant. We'll be burning 100 million plus in gas a year in this plant. So
I'm
this
not worried about
plant-
the gas, I'm worried about.
Yeah, we'll
noise.
run around the clock, 24/7. And, again, a normal residential neighborhood is probably 49 to 50 decibels. The fence line of this plant will be 65. 1,000 feet from the plant will be 50 decibels. So you'll be back to the normal noise level you have in a typical neighborhood.
Not up here, there's no noise.
no, there's no noise, we understand.
People talking a half a mile away, you can hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that is typically done too is they try to berm and buffer the site
And yeah,
with trees and
we'll come up with
landscaping.
with the mitigation plan. As soon as we have that noise information, we'll obviously be moving a lot of dirt, a lot of cut and fill for any of these sites, so we'll have a lot of material to burn around the plant
Do
with.
you have studies in regards to other
We-
sites?
Well, yes, we have studies in regards to other sites, and there's a bunch of these plants around Pennsylvania. And if we decide to build a plant here, we will be more than happy to rent a bus someday and pile all you folks that want to go look at a plant and listen to it.
Are there any one of them that runs? We went around looking, we couldn't find one that runs. Is
Yeah, the plant over in Bradford County is up and
that
running.
White Sox?
No, which is that, Matthew? That's one of the.
I think that's Patriot or Liberty. There's one in Asylum Township that is running currently, I think.
When they speak of White Sox, I think they mean Asylum,
Yeah.
because I was confused.
Okay, Tawanda.
The river's the only thing that separates the Silence Township from Wyside. So initially, I thought it was.
Yeah,
One on
that's
Echo
what-
Beach Road. It's on Echo Beach Road?
Yeah,
It's on
I'm not
Route
that
187,
familiar with it.
going to Durrell.
It's the Panda Power Project.
You bet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Panda Power Project.
We walked up there and I thought, that thing's that quiet, I'll buy it.
On the
Yeah.
one
You
side.
guys haven't been able to get it running yet. It's been there a couple of years.
Well, it
Well,
takes
they just got done building it, they're commissioning it now, so it should be running, they're running very, very shortly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are the plants designed to run on natural gas only, or do you have an alternate fuel?
No, these are designed to run on natural gas only. And we'll have the 2 fuel lines coming in, the primary line and the secondary line.
Okay, so you won't be burning like coal or
No
anything?
kerosene or nothing else. no oil.
Will you be paying what, market value for the gas, or, I mean, how do you figure that?
No, we want to get the gas as cheap as we can. We will be
They're
paying,
doing now.
we will be paying market rate. And what saves us a lot of money on gas is because we're right on top of it, we don't have to pay transportation costs. So we can take a lot of gathering system gas, but we also have to be tied into a major pipeline for backup as
Can
well.
I ask you just one more question?
Yeah.
Is it, how big of a consideration is it on you folks' part as to where your plant will be in relationship to the gas and the power transmission lines?
Those are 2 big considerations for us, okay? To run a gas line, it costs you about $4 million a mile. To run a transmission, electric transmission line, it's about $1 million a mile. So the closer we can get to the transmission lines, and that's why we like this site over here in Covington County, and we have a site in Richmond County that we're looking at, and we have a site up in Lawrenceville that we're looking at.
Is this, the one you're talking about, is that a 1-stack unit or a 2-stack?
It'd be 2 stacks.
2 stacks.
No, that'll just be 1 stack, it's a one-on-one.
Oh, it's just a
Yeah,
one-on-one,
yeah,
this one?
there'll just be one
Yeah.
combustion turbine.
Mr. Dorn, if I can add.
Yeah.
We have zoning here in the township, and you asked about noise. And in an industrial district, which it would have to be zoned for that. And again, I'm not trying to defend it, I'm just trying to get facts out here. I have the zoning ordinance here in front of me. Noise level cannot exceed 60 decibels at the nearest property line. Okay?
So
Now,
we'd
whether
have
they
to
can
review
comply with that, I don't know, but that's what we have as zoning here in this township.
How would it-
Will you
So
maintain that?
we're zoned industrial?
No, they would have to be, what they're looking at is agricultural land, it would have to be rezoned.
Yes.
That's one of my pet peeves, is they have zoning boards until there's enough money involved in it, and then that goes out the window.
How would that affect neighboring properties if the zoning?
You got a question for me too.
Yes,
Okay,
Rodney.
you're on the zoning, I understand it's agriculture.
Correct.
The use is not permitted in agriculture, correct?
They would-
Have
they
you
would have-
checked in the zoning to see?
Yes, we have, it'd have to be rezoned.
It would have to be rezoned.
Okay,
Yes.
what are you gonna rezone, because you can't rezone just one spot,
Right,
because that's spot zoning, which
It'll
is
open
illegal
Pandora's
in
box.
Pennsylvania.
that is correct.
So, and is this use allowed anywhere in the township in the zoning ordinance?
There's already a gas-fired electrical generating plant in the township.
No,
And it's
Well,
down-
that's
down
not,
here at-
okay, that's not my question.
Okay.
The zoning ordinance is this proposed use allowed anywhere in any of the zoning districts in the township?
For you to change it?
No.
No, is
I'm
there
ask-
already an allotted spot within the township for industrial? Because you
Yes.
cannot prohibit.
Right.
So what he's wondering, is there already a spot in Covington that is zoned as industrial?
There is, and it's down,
Okay.
Is that right?
yeah,
Yes.
it's just right here.
Thank you.
Sawmill Road from the Bergeson property north on 15.
Okay.
That is actually industrial.
Okay. So there is a place in the township that they could develop this in compliance with the zoning ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's way far away from, not to take his side, but that's way far away from where
Well-
they want to be.
Well, I understand that, but in zoning, it's not because you want to put it there.
Yeah, it's 'cause
It's
they
what
do.
the zoning is there to protect the individuals that live around the
You
area.
bet.
And I want to make something known, which a few years back, several supervisors were trying to put a tank farm in close to me. And I want to applaud the supervisor for letting the people know that this is coming, because the supervisors at that time were trying to run this thing through, It was not allowed use. It's a similar situation. And we followed it, and the company backed off and moved. I don't have a problem with your power plant, sir. I would welcome a power plant, but my thing, I've been a long time zoning officer. So when somebody comes in and wants to put something in that's not supposed to be put in a certain zone, I got a little bit of problem with it. The other zoning issues would be the height of the towers, the size of the building. I'm not sure how your zoning ordinance applies with that. But I would be
10-acre parcel of land.
10 acres, okay, and I think this is
So they
100.
This is almost 200.
Okay, and this is
So they
on
would
the
fall
east
in that
side,
requirement.
down the road here, right? The
Yeah,
location.
somewhere, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as I said, we're very concerned about the neighbors, and that's why we came to see the supervisors very early on. And as we move forward, when we start to narrow in on the site, the first people we talk to are going to be our neighbors, because we want to have as little impact on them as we possibly can.
I understand that, but you still have to follow the zoning ordinance.
Of course, yeah, and we'd have to get rid of
And I just would, say that spot zoning, unless you do a whole area for industrial, one lot can't be zoned industrial. That's illegal in Pennsylvania.
I have a question on the zoning. When you have a situation like this, can't you, as with the zoning, can't you have a variance and have a committee that actually can grant a variance for special uses?
Special
Isn't that the way it is?
They have a special exemptions.
No.
You mean,
I have one.
your zoning, there's no
Your-
change. Whatever's in there's no change?
A special exception has to be listed in your ordinance.
Well, yeah, they could have the power to do it. if they-
Yes.
Well, they'd have to change the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
They could grant a variance, is that right? Can they
No,
get
there would be
variance?
a special exception and a
Special
variance.
use permit. then.
Special exception is a permitted use in a zoning district by special exception. Same way as a conditional use. The only difference between the two is conditional use goes in front of the supervisors, special exception goes in front of the zoning hearing board. And to answer your question, the use variance by law, I'm on the zoning hearing board here in the township. You cannot grant a use variance if there's another area in the township
Already.
that permits this use.
I just have a simple question. Is this gonna help us, the local people here, with our electric bills and so
Nope.
on?
No, not really.
Where's it going?
New York.
It goes into the grid.
It goes in.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it- whoever buys it, the utilities that buy down the grid, but it's incremental power and it's cheaper power than the coal fire plants. So it does help ultimately, but who knows where it goes once it gets in the wires.
That's what happened to our windmills.
Yeah,
But the electric companies here buy off the grid.
they do, yeah, so they could get some cheaper power from their
Right.
plant.
Could.
Good, yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Oh, all right. My name is Nan Wilcox. My husband and I live on Whitaker Road. And thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for inviting us. I really appreciate that. Our property is very close to a
Across the street.
potential, no, from Covington,
Yeah.
but it could be next door to the place, the site you have in Richmond Township. We've had our family farms, Gordon's parents bought it in 1929.
Wow.
And it means a lot to us. We're a little concerned about property value going down because of it, having it, say
Sure.
it is in Richmond Township. Yeah, it's quiet out there.
And the quality of life issue.
Perhaps, right. But I have a question about the Buffalo News in March 21st, 2015. This was your West Virginia site. There were 37.2 acres along the Ohio River. And the article says, this plant was to emit more than 2.2 million tons of greenhouse gases per year and 11.9 tons of hazardous air pollutants. Now, in the scheme of things, when you think of all of the area, maybe that's not so much, but when I think it's right next door to me or pretty close to me, I think it's a lot. And this particular plant would discharge treated water into the river. Now, there are no rivers
Yeah,
up
this
here, but-
would be that plant in West Virginia is a water-cooled plant. This would be an air-cooled plant. And even though those numbers seem atrocious, that is a minuscule amount compared to what the coal-fired plants put out for stacks. But it's
Still more than what was there yesterday.
Right, right, like I do understand that, and I appreciate that, but again, you know, the quality of air today and the quality of air there 10 years from now, based on the potential of this site, it's a little unnerving.
And Andy and I aren't the guys to address that, but on our team, we could certainly have one of the engineers come and talk to you about what that all means. And they'd be building, you know, on either side at a pretty high elevation, and that's why the stacks are there to get all of that material out of the area and up high. So, you know.
I must admit, if I had a preference and it had to be either Richmond or Covington, if it was up on top of Covington Hill, it doesn't affect us as much. It's not quite so close, but thank you.
And we have to get an air permit from the state.
I know.
We have to get an air permit for the state for the plant, and that's what they look at very, very closely. If any of that stuff is going to be retained by the location, that determines your stack heights. So it's a very onerous process to go through that.
Well, one is next to my house and one is not quite
Yeah.
so close.
If you put this plant in this size, you're gonna have to have some mighty large transmission lines, I would suppose. Now, on these right-of-ways, suppose I didn't want to go across my land, are you gonna use eminent
No,
domain
sir,
and take
no.
my family land away from me?
No, sir, absolutely not. We wouldn't do that. And the two sites we're looking at, the right-of-ways are very short. And we're going into a pre-existing transmission line that runs right across the top of that hill.
What is the exact location that we're talking about?
Well, see that, we don't know that yet, okay? We're looking at two sites.
Then why are you here in Covington Township?
Good question. We came because they called this meeting and they suggested we come and talk to you. We didn't want to have this meeting until we knew where it was going to be, or where we wanted to propose it, okay? We're looking at two sites now.
Location?
We're looking at two sites, one in Covington Township.
And where is that?
The old Wilcox Farm, or the Wilcox Farm, okay?
Bounded by what roads?
East Hill and
East Hill.
Canoe Can Creek Road and East Hill.
3 miles from where you're sitting, right here, right up over the hill.
Over the hill this way?
Yep.
Then the other site is the Dunkelberger Farm on Woodtaker Road.
Quarter of a mile was
From the
Other side of the hill.
But at some point in time in this construction, it's also going to cost one side of traffic up and down this East Hill Road.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it was. That's true.
The next one will be East Hill Road. They'll go up Canoe Can Creek.
It gets, but they'll go after, yeah.
Up down this thing.
Yeah, they'll come from elsewhere.
We have another question, gentlemen.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
You said earlier that, you know, your stack heights were a certain height, then you just got done saying that you're gonna have to get a permit depending on where you.
Yeah,
build it.
typically
Your
this-
stack heights aren't set.
No, the stack heights are determined with the air permit, and typically for a plant this size, they're between 160 and 180 feet. A lot of it depends on air patterns, a lot of it depends on elevation. And this is a pretty elevated site, so we suspect the stacks should be a little lower.
It's elevated from like down here, but the
Yes.
people that live up there is not elevated
No,
to
that's
them,
right.
so you're gonna have, you know, towers and stacks up there. My second question is, how about lighting? Because you said it's gonna be running 24/7. Are we gonna have this glowing?
No, you would not. It would not look like a parking lot, you know, on the top of the hill. There'd be some ambient lighting shining down around the entrance points. If there had to be maintenance at night, obviously lights would come out on around the plant. The stacks will have to have a navigation light on it, a beacon on it, but it's not gonna be lit up like a Christmas tree.
Okay, two other things. I guess to follow up with his question is, you guys were gonna wait to come and do a presentation until after you decided where you were gonna build it?
Where we wanted to build.
Shouldn't you guys be proposing, letting us know everything now so we can help our supervisor make a decision?
Well, that was the idea, but we didn't want to get everybody excited or upset until we knew where we're going, okay?
I think the unknown is a lot more upsetting than getting facts.
Yeah.
So.
Well, see, we didn't think this would take place until we're a little further down the road.
Well, that's my issue is a little further down the road, you should allow, yeah, it's too late.
No,
Well,
it's
we
not
still have
too
to
late.
go for a
No.
zoning, change to cite the plant, but what we wanna do is understand where we're gonna build the plant, do all of our studies, design it, be able to come in and say, okay, here's what you're gonna see, here's what you're gonna see from your house, if you're here, here's what you're gonna hear. We can't do that at this point, because we don't know where we're gonna put it.
So you guys would be willing to dump all that money into all of your
Yes,
your
we'll
blueprints and all
start doing
that for us to
studies.
say, no, we don't want it here?
Yeah.
Well, we have other options too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
we
this
do.
is a huge project. There's a lot of communities that like this kind of project. There's a lot of communities that are looking for additional real estate tax and good corporate citizens. But as I said a couple times, we don't want to go any place where we're not wanted. And if we select a site, if we could get it rezoned, if we go around to the neighbors that are looking at this plant and say they're going to shoot us on site, then we're going to have a lot of second thoughts about it.
Well, we're pretty close neighbors to where you're proposing, that's why I'm asking.
Of course, sure.
The final question that I had is, for people that have gone and looked at the Bradford County one, and they say it's quiet, that's because it's not up and running, that you guys have said, correct?
I'm not sure if it's.
I believe that it is, Ryan, but.
I think they're commissioning it right now, but I don't know.
I can help a little bit. I talked with one of the supervisors in Asylum Township last Thursday. He said they're in the process of working the bugs out. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are times when it's running and times when it is not. It's not in full production, steady production at this time.
One of the points you made about the stacks and whatever's coming out of them, high stacks, all that kind of stuff. Y'all live around here, there's a pig farm up over there, not far from that, well, from Whitaker. 99 pounds out of 100, you don't smell it. Every once in a while though, although it's high up, far away, it burns a hair in your nose.
Well, these don't smell.
I don't care about the smell, I'm thinking what it is. You can't smell natural gas, do you? Doesn't mean it's good for you.
You're young enough to have kids, would you want your children growing up next to us? And would you want your grandchildren playing out in the yard next to us for prolonged periods of time if everything is okay with the amount of pollutants that are
Well,
coming
he
off?
grew up about 4 miles from a big coal plant on the shore of Lake Erie.
That explains it.
And he twitches a little. These are entirely different than they were in the old days. And I think they're very safe. And yeah, I mean, if I had my druthers, I probably wouldn't want to live next to it. But
He didn't answer the question. Are you a politician?
Question over here.
If you had an asthmatic daughter, would you want her to live right across the street from you with the pollution?
you know, again, as Matthew said, we're not the guys to tell you about the pollution. Our engineers can explain that
Asking
much
your
better.
opinion, your viewpoint on it.
Yeah,
And he's still not answering.
my opinion is that the impact in close proximity to the plant is gonna be null. There wouldn't be any. That's why the stack is maybe 180 feet high. There's dispersion to push all that stuff out of the area.
Any?
Well, again, I can't make that statement, but we can have our engineers come back when we decide where we're gonna site it, to talk to y'all and see if we understand it, but, these things are cited by the Pennsylvania
In defense of you, we have rules and regulations by our DEP,
Right.
and they're going to monitor anything that you're going to let out into the emissions.
They're gonna set what we're allowed to do, and that we have to be within those bounds to build and operate the plant, so we don't set what those parameters are, but we engineer it to meet it.
Not the, we are. Where we are. You say maybe this, this is where we are.
Well, you're getting into the nitty gritty here.
It's a funny thing. It's just a funny question.
All right, let me talk for a minute. I can sit on my back deck and I can look out at the field where the proposed plant is gonna be. And we watch the deer, we watch bald
At which
eagles,
site, at the Wilcox site or the
Wilcox.
Dunkel? Yeah.
and we enjoy it very much.
We were just up at Kevin Thomas's tower, looking
Yeah.
out over the whole countryside. And
Yeah.
It's just absolutely beautiful.
It is,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But, so I was very concerned when I heard this, and we decided to take a ride, Roger Schultz and I, we decided to take a ride out to the Panda Project. We did some research online about it. We went, we talked to local people, we talked to local businesses. We probably interviewed 10 different people.
Wow.
Real estate agents, neighbors that lived within 1,000 feet of the plant. I would say within a 1 mile radius, we talked to 10 different people. The plant is not running right now, and nobody's quite sure why. They did say that the burn off was bad when they start up, when they like purge the gas lines and start the plant, that it's a loud roar like you would hear with a gas well burning, and there's a lot of smoke. They said other than that, it is not as loud as you would anticipate, like what I was thinking. I took a video, and I can post it to your Covington Township Facebook page so that people can see. It's ugly. You know, there's no, it's a factory. It's ugly. From what people say, they have 875 megawatts, is that right?
That's a big plant.
And it was put on 36 acres, 16 of which were used for the plant itself. Ours is supposed to be smaller, isn't that correct?
Yeah, 550 megs.
Yes. And theirs, I believe, is a one stack also.
No.
They said that smoke only comes out of the one. The smoke comes out of one stack, but it's a clear, steamy smoke.
It looks
It's
like
not-
water vapor.
Yeah, it's not black.
That's a water cooled plant, I believe.
It's
It's
by
on
the river.
It's on the river, yeah.
It
So
is
that's
right
probably
beside.
that's probably what they're seeing. We won't have a cooling tower.
But they, I'm not, there's things, I do have concerns. I know that it's DEP regulated, for, pollution, but I know it's also self-regulated, where DEP doesn't come in and actually take the, samplings of the air quality. You guys report that yourselves. Write down and send in for yourself. We've been burnt so many times around this area by gas companies and self-regulation that we're very skeptical and cynical of a lot of the self-regulating things around here. So when you're talking pollution, you're gonna get people up in arms, whether it's air, traffic, or water, just because we've been burnt. But I would encourage people to get educated. They have not made a decision yet where they are going, but educate yourselves. Go there, drive there yourself, talk to people. I wish I had gotten somebody's phone number so that when it was running, I could go up there. It took 45 minutes, I think, to get there. And we didn't hear it, but we asked a lot of people what they thought and how they felt about it. Not very many of them were negative.
They didn't try to sell their house yet.
Yes, no, I did talk to a real estate agent also. And she said that there have been about 5 houses that have sold locally within a 2 mile radius of that plant. And she did not feel that it affected the,
Resale.
any of the property value. But it's Joanne Kaiser, which they were the ones that sold the property to the Power Panda, or Panda Power. So they did have, so I'm throwing that out there because we're not taking sides here. I'm just giving information that I received. But go out and decide for yourselves, because that's the only way you're gonna know. There's a lot of ifs.
Maybe a couple things for you to think about there. The permitting, and again, we can have our folks that focus on that come back and talk a lot more detail, the engineers. But it is very rigorous. It is audited. It's not, they're just writing something down and mailing it in once a year. It's very very managed process. But the other thing is,
With
this-
substantial non-compliance monetary penalties.
huge, yeah. I mean, they'll just shut the plant down if it doesn't meet the standard that it's permitted to, it won't run. So, you know, that's regulated. The noise level is a must meet, and if we're above that, it won't run. But the other thing is, we're not like a E&P company or pipeline company where they're gonna hire outside contractors, come in, cut down trees that you don't want them to, build the pipeline and leave. This plant will be there for 30 years operating. There'll be, you know, a plant manager that you can go and talk to if you have an issue at any time. There'll
We
be a
did hear
presence in
that.
the
We
community.
did hear that if people that lived very close to it, that they actually had the manager's phone number,
Sure.
and that they could call him directly if they were having problems with a lot of the construction, the guys on the road, air horns, whatever, or air brakes, I mean, whatever go on the road, that they could call him up and he would, you know, discuss with them. But they also said that the construction, the traffic was the worst part of
Yeah,
it.
and during the, you know, they'll do a traffic study in the near term when the site's selected, look at traffic patterns, look at road improvements. I mean, this plan will probably pay for, you know, significant road improvements in the community. All the roads that we use, we bond, but we'll probably also upgrade roads in the community. So that's a kind of a nice benefit to the community. But they'll manage those traffic patterns around, you know, things like school times and so on. Look at busy intersections. Do they need to put an extra police car there in between shifts? Things of that nature. So they'll try to manage it. There'll be 200 to 400 cars.
When they do this construction itself, is that a 24/7 thing?
No. It'll be one shift.
And is this plant, suppose you do get it, is it the foot in the door? You could stick another one next to us next week.
No. I mean, this is a heavily permitted plant. As Andy mentioned, it's actually been 18 months since we started studying the transmission and the ability to inject on that line that we want to tap. And there's only room for one plant on that line. So this is
On the Wilcox site, if that was the one that you chose, where are you putting the plant at? Out there on the corner next to the road, or are you going back as far as you
we'd
possibly
be all the
can?
way in the back behind the well existing one.
So you'd be near the pig farm then.
That's not the best location.
But again, I apologize that we don't have a formal presentation with some fancy graphics and pictures of what these plants look like. And they're not great looking things, but the plants that we designed are not that ugly. It's a big metal building, okay? And you've got a couple stacks and you have a transmission yard. But it's, you know, it's not, certainly not an architectural, you can pass that around if you want. Yeah.
In Andy's defense, I mean, they came to us and we asked them right out, you guys mind if we have a public meeting? We'd like to get the opinion of the public here in our township, so we know where everyone stands, what the basic consensus is. Do you want something like this or not? And that is why we asked this. And again, in his defense, he had said, well, we want to have a public meeting, but we'd like to know where so we can give exact locations, exact ideas what the plant would be. And again, they're still doing their studying. And again, maybe we did get a little premature in this, but in the same token, I don't want to wait until after the fact.
No, and we understand.
And that's why we've asked to do this, and Kevin Thomas got involved. He had heard about it, so Kevin got involved and put an advertisement on the radio about this.
Yeah.
And that is how this meeting came about. And again, there's nothing set in stone. We just want to hear the general consensus to get people aware that there is a possibility of this in this area.
And I think maybe it would be good again to kind of run through some of the positive benefits. I know there's potential, some light pollution concerns and noise concerns and maybe general pollution concerns and things like of that nature. But this plant would be a very significant property tax payer in the area. be a very significant income tax payer for the state, very significant sales and use tax during the construction of the plant. I think the biggest impact on the community here locally would be that this plant will probably cause the drilling of somewhere between 60 and 100 new horizontal wells during the operation of the plant. So, well, I guess if you have mineral rights, that's an important, important piece. Yeah, I guess my point in that is the royalty owners will benefit in the area. We're looking to burn local gas. That's why we're here. We want to take gas out of that shell gathering loop that they put in and burn it in the plant. So, if
You shouldn't have said that, you just made the case worse, saying you're gonna put a couple hundred more wells in around the area, just what you need.
Well, I think a lot of them, there's already well pads that they would drill here, but, again, there's probably different points of view on that. The folks that own the royalties would probably like to see those wells get drilled.
Take most of the gas that's now available there? Most of it, or?
I think we would use a good portion of gas off that shell line. I'm not exactly sure what the flow is, but this plant would burn about 130,000 decatherms a day. So significant amount.
We had a question.
I have a question. Whose gas lines would you be pulling off of?
There's two Tennessee lines and the shell gathering system. That's what we intend.
Mike, the guy.
Mike over here.
Yeah, the plant in Bradford, where it's built, what was that zoned initially? Was that industrial zoned initially?
No, it was agricultural, I believe.
Yeah, they got a zoning variance for that.
Yeah.
To do that.
What about the smaller gas people here, like Seneca? Are you contracted with them?
No, we haven't talked to them, and they're multiple people, that's National Fuel Gas. So we know those people, but no, we've had a lot of discussions with some of the other bigger players.
There's plenty of fuel on that Tennessee pipeline. They'd be one of the suppliers, so we could certainly potentially do that.
See, I think they all go to the Tennessee, and then they would draw basically from the Tennessee or the Shell line.
Yeah.
And so indirectly, it would be any of the local utilities or wells that are supplied out here, that are drilled. I know we have Tenasca that has wells, and they all supply to the Tennessee.
Yeah, and their incentive there is they can get what they call a short haul rate from Tennessee. So instead of trying to move the gas out of the area, they're getting a major discount to move a small business to our plant, so it incentivizes them to drill wells closer to the plant.
The plant is natural gas powered. Now, the turbines, are they internal combustion engines, or?
It's a big jet engine. It's a great big jet engine is what it is.
There's no water, steam involved?
Well, you may have to explain how the combined cycle works.
There would be water involved, but the amount of water that we would use for this plant, being that it's air cooled, we could take primarily off of wells on the property. So that the premise behind the combined cycle plant, it's very, very efficient because you harness the exhaust from that combustion turbine and run it through basically a boiler, which creates high pressure steam and then spins a steam turbine with that excess energy behind it. So both of those turbines are connected to one generator that turns and creates electricity.
About how many gallons a day then are we talking?
Not many.
Well,
12, it's 12 gallons a minute.
I'm not sure if that's correct either. We can get the right information back to you, but I do know that the engineers have studied the water needs for the plant, and they can satisfy them off of existing municipal and potential wells.
There's no municipal water up there.
No.
Yeah, and again, I
It's
didn't do that
limited.
part of it.
A lot of people around here, their wells have had trouble.
yeah.
The gas wells screw up the wells, our wells, the water wells. Anyway, nobody wants to talk about that, but that's what I say, when you're selling, you're gonna stick a bunch of new wells in, and then you're gonna stick wells in, it doesn't make people too happy. We've already had trouble with our well a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, I think that those wells are gonna get drilled, it's just a matter of time.
Again, we'll be back in a couple weeks once we have something a little bit more definitive to tell you, and we'll bring one of our engineers that can speak to the pollution issues much better, and can speak to the noise issues. You know, we have done a number of sound studies on our other plant, and they don't make a lot of noise, and the buffer of trees and berms around them helps as well, that these buildings are insulated and the turbines are insulated. And, you know, we should know in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks which way we prefer to go. And again, I'll say that if our neighbors are adamant that they don't want us there, we're not going to force ourselves down your throat. So, you know, that's what, we'll be back and see if we can get some consensus and.
I have another question.
Yes.
Just would like to respectfully request what the timeline is, the time frame for the removal of the plastic arrows that you had. And I understand someone had come in and flew a drone over. We have several on our property, and I don't like looking at them.
Oh, we'll find out if, we hired somebody to do
Okay, I
a
thought so.
topographical study, and
But-
if they didn't take any arrows out, we'll make sure they get over and get them
Yeah,
out.
maybe they will,
Yeah.
that's by accident.
We have one of our guys up here tomorrow, one of the engineers, will make sure he follows up on that. Yeah, I apologize.
You did the topographical, do you know what the elevation was?
Yes, I did 1575 maybe.
Depending on the site, I think it was between 1750 maybe and, yeah, 1650 maybe, I never said that.
I'd like to add a thank you very much for coming to
Well,
this meeting, so you can at least give some answers, because again, all of us are wondering, we've got a lot of questions, I'm sure many of us will go to an existing plant, and chances are it'll be the one in Asylum Township, because it's the closest, it's a 45-minute drive. It would give them some type of a basic idea of what it would be.
We live 2.5 hours from here, so we're more than happy to come over whenever we need be. I told the boss here, Nikki, that whenever she needed anything to yell. And, you know, we're happy to come back, and as I said, we went out and talked to Kevin Thomas, and got up on his observation platform and looked all over and saw where people lived and what the sight lines were and the concerns. So we appreciate that.
Stacy, yes?
If you rezone from ag to, what would it have to be for you?
Industrial.
Okay, how big of an area do you have to have?
As I said, the plant itself will sit on about 20 acres. And then there's a transmission yard that ties into the big transmission line, and that's another couple acres.
This gentleman said you can't spot do that.
Well, I don't know, you know, our attorneys
So that would
will
have to
figure
be up
that
to
out.
our local,
Yeah.
you guys to zone it?
Actually, the county would be involved with this. The county commissioners are aware of this. They were here at the original meeting when Mr. Dorn came to us.
But how big of an area usually is commercial?
Right now, Covington Township is set up as within 500 feet of Business 15. Those areas are commercial. And our industrial area is down Business 15 north from the Ferguson farm here on our right, north. So,
Industrial is different than commercial. Okay, it's just for clarification.
Now, how's the tax rates in each one of them? Is it different from residential, ag? They're all different, correct?
The tax rate would have to be different, yes.
So what's the cheapest one?
Ag.
Ag would be the cheapest.
Industrial's the highest, I assume.
Yeah, I would assume also.
So if, hypothetically, if this plant, because I guess it's a question for you guys, and we're paying all this tax to our township, does that mean our taxes go down?
I would like to say yes. We're gonna get a raise.
In theory, how does it affect us other than our township getting tax money? How does it affect us as?
They won't raise your taxes. If there's enough income coming to the township, they won't raise your taxes.
But our road has worked the best this year than it's worked in the last 10 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice to hear that, though. They're often concerned about it.
People
I think you
wonder-
and I
got
have
yellow
talked about
lines
it
last
loads
week,
before.
Everything's done.
The other answer to your taxes going down, you have $700,000 in your Act 13 money, and they haven't gone down yet, so they aren't going to be down with it. Right?
Yeah, Roger.
Yes, Roger.
I just want to follow up a little bit on the spot zoning and the procedures a little bit. You said about it going to county, which it would, because they
Yes.
have to do a land development.
Yes. In fact,
However,
the county planner I thought was gonna be here
Okay.
tonight. Not.
as far as zoning, though, it's strictly the township. The county has no authority over your zoning. And typically, since you have your own planning commission and you have your own planning and subdivision here at the township, the decision is at the township level and not at the county. The county is just advisory that would give you your opinion. So I work for Lycoming County in the planning commission, so I know the fundamentals, how things work. And spot zoning, if you take 20 acres or 100 acres out in an area, and you're gonna change the zoning just for one particular use, that is spot zoning, which is illegal in Pennsylvania. I know you said you had, another power plant was done in Ag and was changed. How they did that, I don't know. But if it was in Pennsylvania, you can't do that.
Yeah, the Panda power plant was, I'm pretty sure that was on a farm, isn't it?
It was agricultural.
Yeah. it was agricultural,
Well, their zoning ordinance may be allowed it too.
Yeah.
The difference is zoning ordinances from one municipality to the next are different. As a matter of fact, if I would be in your shoes, I would make sure the sites that you're choosing, that you can build it before you invest all this money.
Well,
I think it's a little, well, it doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like you've already spent a lot of money and invested.
We spend money on transmission studies.
Well, we've looked into the zoning as well. I mean, we've got certainly different feedbacks. We'll go back and look into that.
Well, did you contact the township zoning officer?
We contacted our local council, and reviewed their zoning ordinances, and so there's a process that you can go through.
They can go through in agriculture, I don't think so. So, you have to go through a procedure to do it.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not against the power plant. I'm against pushing it onto an agricultural property that we should try, in my mind, should maintain in this area. I would sooner see you put it someplace where it's more suited, like in our industrial district. And, you know, I would welcome that. But because when you put it out there, you got all these residents, you hear the pollution, the noise, the lighting, and I worked in zoning, and I hear the sales pitch from developers, oh, we don't have noise or whatever. After it's built, we have problems with it. Those wind towers down in Lycoming County, no problem with noise. After they were built, we had all kinds of problems with noise. So
Gas compressor stations,
well, it's the same thing.
same thing.
If the township has a zoning ordinance that they don't have authority to change, then they need to change the wording on the ordinance, so you have the power to grant a variance or special use or something. So you just don't have one communistic rule where you can't, you abide by this rule and that's it.
Correct.
There's gotta be a way to change it, if you so desired.
I've spoken with our solicitor, and he said that there is a way that we can allow this. So that, again,
Did he explain how?
he did not explain how.
I would like to know how, because without spot zoning, I mean, you're gonna have to, you can't just do one property as industrial.
Again, I did run it by our solicitor, and he said it is possible, so at that point,
Well, let me say one other thing, before you guys were in power here, back to the tank farm, the township kept telling me, oh, they're allowed to do it, they're allowed to do it, but they weren't allowed to do it. So, I don't take, just because your attorney said that they can do it, I mean, it may be a possibility, but, you know, it's gotta go through the process. And if you change your ordinance, and that's what the township supervisors tried to do with the tank plant, change the ordinance. You know, we fought that. So, like I said, I don't have a problem, but I do have a problem trying to put something where it's not supposed to be.
Unfortunately, those are the only sites that work for us.
Well, that doesn't matter, sir. You are supposed to pick sites where your project.
That's why we'll engage with these folks and see if we can get them comfortable with what we're trying to do. But right now, we don't have enough information to make that case.
Correct, and at this point, they're not sure where they're going, guys.
Important point. Very important point. You know, this was, called for an informational meeting.
Correct.
It isn't.
Really, I have a question, Gary Butter.
I guess a couple of you have been over to the Panda location. Can you describe the general area where that's setting at? You know, is there businesses close to it, or are there houses close to it? Or is it out in the middle of agriculture, or how many people are they affecting there?
Okay, have you ever been, for those who have been to Towanda, on to Y6, to Route 187?
North or south?
South.
North or south?
South. And you
can
go
see it
back
from
to,
here.
you go back to the river. And it's just the other side of the river. So that's in relation, quite close to Y7.
7/10 of a mile off of 6, off of Route 6 on
Without
187
seeing.
down.
There's a house right next to the thing.
You know, there's one right on the corner, that's a daycare. She talked to the lady who was there with the half a dozen kids. And I mean, right on the corner, and behind it is this big plant.
These guys locally, or there are, from my understanding is there's several other buildings, houses in close proximity to that.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
So this is considerably more rural than what the
Oh,
Panda
very
plant is.
definitely.
So if there's noise pollution or whatever, at that location, they're going to affect a tremendous amount of people? Would that
Oh,
be
yeah.
correct or something?
Or be drowned out by the stuff around it too.
Because there's a trailer court, when you get across the river, take the first road to the left, and there's a trailer court down there, maybe half a mile, as well as other houses.
Is that over there by the Masonite place?
Past the-
That's right by.
On the other side of the river, south of 187, quarter of a mile.
Yeah, because they use water in that.
Yes, it's water cooled.
So it's right alongside the river, and that's where what had that site.
You folks have been listening to this, now what do you think?
Well, we understand your concerns. You know, we'll try to address those, and as we decide what the best site is, we'll come back and talk again and make a much more formal presentation and provide you with some data that hopefully, you can verify.
And frankly, I think all the concerns can be adequately addressed. We're just not the guys to talk to it. We're not gonna try to make up answers. But
That's not good.
I think there's answers to all your concerns.
And as I said, we'd be more than happy to get a bus, and we know the people at Panda, to maybe get a bus full of people that are concerned and go over and take a look at it.
When it's running?
When it's running, it's not gonna do you much good if it isn't.